7, 8 years, man. 2019 is like where life just fucking smacked me, man. It just it all started to unfold and fucking fall apart in front of my eyes, and I just drank and watched the fucking show happen.
Mm. No,
You know,
and I've heard some people, and I can relate to with the taste, especially the hard stuff with the alcohol is just my thing was, all right, I'll get through the first couple of sips, and then when the buzz kicks in, like that part of you that goes, oh, it will go away, and so it was always a fight through that part. For me, every time with hard alcohol, it doesn't matter. It was like, oh, okay. When I get to that point, it's like, oh no, everything's fine now. Give me another one. Keep them coming. Like, fuck. Thinking back about like scotch, I had a friend that his thing was like scotch on the rocks, like the nastiest shit. Like if I smell it now, I almost want to puke. Like, how did I ever put this poison in my body? Anyways, 2019, man, falls apart. Where are we at? Because did we return to some not that alcohol isn't a hard drug. I hate kind of that separation of it. But were you then once again using other drugs?
Nah, the after my son was born and I started working in construction, I just fucked with alcohol because we were always drug tested. That was too much of a fucking risk for me. I couldn't fuck with that. So it's like society set it up for me in a way that the only release I could fuck with was alcohol, right? And I took very much advantage of that. And the hardships that came, I guess, in 2019 were from years and years of a relationship with two people that were drinking. Shit turned toxic, and it came back to bite us in the fucking ass. Like we were unhappy. I was unhappy with the mother of my kid. She was unhappy with me, and a lot of shit just kind of led to a point where I was binge drinking to like I never ever was before. It was fucking crazy, man. I was drinking a lot because as far as work wise, I was in a very successful place. I had built that side of my my half of my life very well, and the other half of my personal life I let fall apart. We let a lot of that shit fall apart in our relationship. Because that's what kind of, to me, was like the ultimate heartbreak, was like my fucking family falling apart. It was like, fuck, man, like this was keeping me together in even through all the shit with alcohol through all those years. It was like my fighting force. It was my life force. It was what pushed me every day. It was what my spark to live was my family. And when I saw that shit going down the toilet, I was like, fuck. Nothing else really matters, man. And I couldn't cope. I couldn't talk to anybody about it, really. It was just hard shit to deal with.
Yeah. What was the breaking point for you when you were decided, hey, I've got to get this out of my life. I need help.
I guess when I woke up from my coma, I never asked. I never went for help.
This is the Knockin' Doorz Down podcast, featuring celebrities, experts, and everyday people who have overcome adversities, including addiction, mental health, and trauma, to live purposeful lives. And that's what Knockin' Doorz Down is all about.
This podcast contains the views and opinions of the Knockin' Doorz Down hosts and their guests to the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for informational purposes only. And because each person is sharing their unique perspective, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast and website are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Privacy is of the utmost importance to us. For those wishing anonymity, people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect confidentiality at the request of certain guests. This website or podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including but not limited to establishing standard of care in a legal sense or as a basis for expert witness testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or website. In no way does listening, reading, emailing, or interacting on social media with our content establish a doctor-patient relationship. If you find any errors in any of the content of this podcast or blogs, please send a message through the contact page. This podcast is owned by KDD Media Company.